Welcome everyone. We are very excited to have you join us here. Yes, I already started, but thank you for reminding me. We are recording this because this is part of our career workshop series for the fall. And today's topic, for those who might be watching the recording later, is Internships 101. And I want to thank Zahar for having us. And I know some of you are in his direct admit class, some of you are in Patty Strock's first year experience class, and some of you might be in Ashley Fox's Thinking Ahead class, and some of you are just here because you saw the event advertised and wanted to learn more about internships. So we are excited you're here. As Zahar said, my name is Joan Marceau. I am the undergraduate internship and career coordinator. And Christina, I'll let you put your face in there in the camera so they can see you as you look up there. No, way in the back.
Okay.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I'm Christina Cardona. As Zahar said, I'm new to Rockefeller. I'm the new coordinator of internships and careers. Coordinator of internships and career programming for Rockefeller for both undergrad and grad students. So yeah, and if you guys were Thinking Ahead, I'll see you on Friday again. So sorry that you have to hear me talk twice this week. But
I think you'll be happy to hear that. It'll be all good. So what we're going to do is we're going to just dive right in. I'm going to share the slides, and we're just going to talk all about internships and what that can look like. But I'm gonna, as we get started, we're gonna ask you a few questions to get started. But what we're gonna talk about today is why should you do an internship? Why would you even want to do an internship? When can you do an internship? What types of internships are out there? Where do I find an internship? How do you go about that process? And how can you get academic credit for an internship? So those are kind of the topics we're going to talk about today. Does anyone have other questions about internships that aren't listed there that we want to be sure to cover? And again, if you're on Zoom, you can type in the chat or unmute yourself if you've got questions as well. Other questions? And if you have questions as we go, that's fine. If you know any off the top of your head, you can share. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to do this first part. So,
okay, so
you know what? Actually, before we do that, can I ask a few more questions? Yes. I'm going to go back. Let me go back one slide. I want to just find out a little bit more about who you are. So, how many first-year students? Any sophomores? And on Zoom, you can raise your hand. Any sophomores? Everybody first-year students? Juniors, seniors? Okay. So, and then tell me a little bit, how many political science majors? Okay, public policy majors? Criminal justice majors? Any other majors? What are you? Emergency preparedness, excellent. Anything else? All right, great. So the bulk of what we're going to be talking about is really geared at the kind of the fields that you're all planning to go into. A lot of this will apply in general to any major. So if you have friends in other majors, some of this information could be helpful to them as well. But it's helpful for us to kind of know who you are. And so for those of you who are first year students, this is a great time to be thinking about this. And we're going to give you lots of tools that you can use now so you can be planning ahead to some of those bigger internship programs down the road. And if you're already a junior or senior, that's perfectly fine. There's still plenty of time to do that. I do want to mention a couple of those bigger internship programs. Howard mentioned that I work with the Semester in Washington program. How many of you have heard of that or are interested in doing that someday? Excellent. So that's an internship program where you can go to Washington, D.C. for the semester. We run it every year in the spring semester. We take about 20 students to D.C. and you live there for the whole semester, get an internship, and take a couple of classes, and you just learn all about DC and how the federal policy works, and it's a really great opportunity. It's open to students in any major. You can work inside the government, outside the government, lots of opportunities. Our other big, we call our flagship programs, is the New York State Senate and Assembly internship program. How many of you have heard of that or are interested in doing that someday? Excellent. For those who aren't first-year students, applications are actually open for that right now for this coming spring. So that program also runs every spring semester, and applications open each fall for that program. And that's a full-time internship that happens, right here in Albany, downtown at the Capitol, working in an office of either a New York State Assembly member or a senator. And then besides that, there's lots of other part-time internships and full-time internships and a range of things, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So now I'll turn it over.
Please stay in this spot, Jen.
Actually, you can go to the next slide. I didn't grab it.
Or you just.
Oh, yeah,
Perfect.
stand right
Okay.
there. Yes,
All
that
right,
would-
perfect.
yes, the mic is here, and you just look out there, you'll be good with the camera on both ends.
Perfect. Okay, so before we go into why should I do an internship, who has done an internship so far? Can you raise your hand? Okay, who raise it a little higher? Okay, perfect. Who is like looking for an internship for the future? Okay, a lot of people. Okay, in the right spot, great. So for who has done an internship, can you raise your hand again? Would anyone like to share like a very small bit of their internship experience that they've had? Let's see, anyone? Do you want to share?
Sure.
Thank you.
So I worked I started off interning for my town's board. I would go to the meetings with some of my friends. We found it entertaining. They saw us there. And the town supervisor actually offered me an internship, and it transitioned into a paid position after the internship expired. So it was a good thing, especially for a high schooler to be involved in local government. It was really interesting.
That's great. No, thank you. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, what's your name? Sorry.
Troy.
Troy. Sorry.
Like the city.
Like the city.
Sorry,
Okay.
like the city.
Okay. Troy just shared that his internship experience was great because while he was in high school, he got that to transition. And you said like it transitioned into a job,
Yeah.
right? So that's great. And that actually brings up a point we have here. Just gonna skip for a second. Actually, here it is. This doesn't have to do necessarily with graduation, what Troy mentioned, but it helped him get a job. So it increases your marketability. So thank you for that. Yeah. Anyone else like to share? Yeah. What's your name? Nick. Okay. So apprenticeship at a law firm Nick just mentioned. So how was your internship experience? Okay. Anything like that you gained from that experience you want to share? Sorry, can you speak up a little? Okay, great. So Nick just mentioned some scanning document experience. So that goes into some real world experience that you can gain from an internship. Also, just learning how professional workplaces operate is a great benefit of an internship. Really adding to your resume and can, be a job after graduation, and also just a great experience to have where you can figure out what you like, what you don't like. And that can really help you with your career path as well. Also, networking is one of the main things for internships as well. And a great reason to do one is to build your professional network. And also for the future, when you are applying for jobs, and even as you're just in your current experience, if you have questions, like having that professional network already is great to, again, make those connections via networking. And also one of the other main things, Nick kind of touched on this as well, just improving like both real world experience, but also soft skills of like working as part of a team, communication, even more of those administrative skills, even if they're not administrative, just it could be related to your degree, what you're interested in the future, or again, realizing, okay, I'm not interested in doing this, but I'm glad I had this experience so that it could lead me into something else. So those are some of the main things for why you should do an internship. I know for me personally, I had done an internship in undergrad where then I realized, okay, there's things I do like about this internship, but this isn't exactly what I want to do. So I'm glad I had that experience before entering like the job world, if you will. So anything to add, Joe?
No, I would say, really it's about, one of the things that's great about an internship is you get to try something out for a short time. It's not a long-term commitment. So, typically internships go for 1 semester or over the summer. So it really gives you, 2, 3, 4 months to kind of get some skills, to see if you really like that setting. I, like Christina, had a similar experience. I did an internship and realized that I really wasn't interested in that, kind of field. I was a public relations major, different field than you guys, but public relations major, and I interned at an advertising agency for the summer, and I realized that it wasn't a good fit. There were some things I liked about the work I did, but some things I didn't really like, and it kind of helped me to kind of reassess and decide what my next steps in my career would be. So sometimes you find that this is a perfect fit and you know now exactly what you want to do. And sometimes you might find, oh, I really like this work, but maybe you're working in a legislative office, you're interning in a legislative office, and you're like, you know what, I think I'd like to be on the other side. I'd like to be working in that advocacy organization that's helping the people and, kind of finding out what their needs are and bringing that to the legislature. So again, you can really kind of learn about how organizations work while you're building those skills and building that network. So
Great, thank you, John. Yeah, so I mean, going off of that too, for a short time of when you can do an internship. So you can really do an internship anytime. Something to keep in mind is upcoming internship deadlines. That being said, say right now we're in the fall semester, if you're thinking, oh, I'd like to do a spring internship, you don't want to obviously apply for those spring internships in the spring. So keeping in mind, what are you interested in, maybe for the spring, maybe for the summer, or even if you're not filling out the information or paperwork right now for next year, thinking about, what you want the rest of your college experience to look like in terms of internships and planning ahead. So it's something to note for that too, like it says on the slide, a lot of times juniors and seniors are more likely to have internships just based on the fact that they're closer to graduation. A lot of times these can turn into job opportunities, but there's also plenty of internship opportunities available if you're a first year or a sophomore too. So again, just keeping in mind, and we'll mention after, where you can find these internship opportunities, but just reading your emails, keeping in mind what you're interested in, and just keeping a lookout again as these opportunities arise so you don't miss them as well. And something just to mention quick about when can I do an internship. I've done internships this summer. Everyone's different. It's been helpful for me just because I feel like then I can really focus on the internship experience and not have other school, other classwork that I have to focus on, and I can really get the most out of that experience. So obviously you can do it whenever you like, but the summer is a really great time if that works for you. Also, part-time or full-time, that again depends on what you're applying for and what you're interested in. But if you're taking classes, if you're taking it throughout the semester, for example, you're probably not going to be able to do a full-time internship. So just keeping in mind, you could still gain experience while in school. Yeah.
Can I do a summer internship or something?
So yes, the question was if you do a summer internship, you get credit for it. So yes, so the answer to that is yes, because we have, within our undergraduate internship course, for example, students will submit a internship experience from the summer and it will still count for the fall. So,
and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the academic credit piece in the end. So, but yes,
great question, Mel. Yeah. Any other questions about when you can do an internship? And again, Joan will talk more about the actual credits for that as well. So yeah, again, just keeping in mind deadlines and meeting with our office when you can about internship opportunities is also super helpful. And we have, which we'll talk about at the end, our job and internship search or job and internship handbooks available there.
all right. And I will just add, for many of you, I will say that most students in the majors you guys mentioned, political science, public policy, criminal justice, emergency preparedness, most students do at least one internship as an undergrad. For public policy, you are required to do at least one part-time internship to graduate. And for EHC, there is an experiential learning requirement as well for that major that can be an internship or another experiential opportunity. But I will say that most students in all of those majors typically do at least one internship, and we have many students who do 2, 3, even 4 internships by the time they finish their bachelor's degree. So there's lots of opportunities, like Christina said, you can do it part-time, you know, while you're in the semester, while you're doing other classes, you can do it full-time or part-time in the summer, lots of opportunities. So let's talk about what you can do now. So one of the things that for some of you, you might be thinking, but how am I going to get an internship because I don't have any experience? And the one thing I will say is that for a lot of internships, particularly part-time internships, they're not looking for a lot of experience. They know you're still a student. But there are some things that you can be doing now to get some skills and some experience that will make you more marketable as you start applying to internships. And one of those is community service. I'm going to switch that so that you can see the slide a little bit better. So many of you probably have done some community service in high school. Some of you might be doing it right now. But there is what the Engage You Albany website has a listing. Sorry, there's a typo, that A. Autocorrect all this lowercase is that A, You Albany. But Engage You Albany has a listing of different community service opportunities, and that's a great way, particularly for people in this field, because many nonprofit organizations in the area might be working on, you know, issues and helping people with things that you're interested in. Maybe you're interested in education policy, or you're interested in immigration policy, or you're interested in environmental policy. You can find nonprofit organizations that are, you know, working with immigrants and relocating refugees, and that would be a great way, just getting some experience, but even specifically about the field you're particularly interested in. So community service can be a great way, and there's actually a way to get academic credit for that as well, which I'll talk about at the end. And for this kind of thing, you know, obviously one-time community service is great, but if you can do some ongoing community service, that's what's really going to build those skills and give you things that you can put on your resume. Maybe you can help the organization update their database or start a social media campaign. There's probably some skills that you have already that you could bring to an organization that would really help them out. So that's one great opportunity. How many of you either previously or currently are doing some kind of community service? Okay, so a lot of you are ready. So that's a great opportunity. Working on a political campaign. So obviously we're in the middle of a very big election season, and there are political campaigns at all levels: local, state, federal, presidential campaign, and you can get involved in a political campaign very easily. And it's a really great way to get some experience. And having worked on a political campaign gives you direct skills and experiences to get an internship in a legislative office down the road. So, and how do you do that? You literally go, anyone who's running, go to their website, and there'll be a place where it says how to get involved, how to volunteer, and you just click right there and contact them, and you can get involved and do door-to-door canvassing, maybe doing phone banking or text banking. Great ways to get involved and learn a little bit behind the scenes about how those things work. So, all right, questions? All right, campus organizations. So some of you, anyone involved in campus organizations already? Excellent. Those are a great way to build some leadership skills. So get involved in some organizations, and then as you're, you know, as you've been here for a few months, you know, start getting more actively. Don't just go to the meetings, like help plan some events, go to some events, get elected to an e-board, really help build some of those leadership skills, those organizational skills, event planning skills. All of those things can be great marketable skills to put on your resume. Research. I'm sure Zahara has talked with you about that already, or we'll have someone coming in talking about, as an undergraduate student at UAlbany, you can do research with a faculty member and get some real hands-on experience doing real life research with a faculty member. Another great thing that's going to build skills and make you more marketable for those internships. Study abroad is a great opportunity to get some different experiences, learn about other cultures and things like that. That really is something else that employers look for as they are looking at potential interns. And then part-time jobs. Don't discount the skills that you're getting. Any of you have a part-time job at a mall, a restaurant, any kind of, you know, those types of just those random part-time jobs that we all have, or had a summer job where you're, what do you do mostly in those jobs? you deal with people, right? And those people skills are really, really valuable to employers, because in many internships, if you're interning in a political office or like a political, like the legislative office, that is not a whole lot different than dealing with people in a retail store or a restaurant. Those same people skills that you built will come in handy. So having a part-time job, having a summer job, all of those skills are important things that are going to help you as well. Questions about any of that? And I really recommend, like in your first year of college, obviously going to classes, doing well, studying, learning things is very helpful. But in terms of getting involved in any of these types of things can help build that resume. Question?
I mean, you're saying like so many things that you can affect in our resume. But how should we kind of like, we can't do everything, so what should we focus?
So that's a great question. So the question was, all of these things are great, but we can't do everything, so what should we focus on? And I think the answer to that is, I would say, focus on what interests you the most. It's not that one of these is better than another to get an internship or get a job down the road. Any of them can be helpful. And what you want to do is think about what you want to learn, what you want to do. Have a conversation with your advisor. Come in and talk with Christina and I. Talk about like what you want to do down the road and what skills would be helpful for that and where could you best get those kinds of skills. So you want to just kind of think about that. That being said, any of them will help. I know you shouldn't try to do them all. You should pick a few that fit with your schedule, that are more interesting to you, that will give you kind of that range of skills. So someone that gets involved in 10 organizations and, you know, is building all those leadership skills, but maybe isn't doing some of the other things, is probably not going to be as well-rounded as someone who might get involved in 1 or 2 organizations, plus have a part-time job and maybe volunteer, you know, on the weekends in the summer or something like that. Does that make sense? It's really about putting together those skill sets. All right, other questions? All right, what types of internships are out there? So again, I said that we're going to talk about the types of internships that students in the majors you guys all have typically have. Legislative offices are very popular among students in these majors, and it's a great way to learn about how the legislative process works and really get to meet tons of people. And being located right here in Albany is so great because you're right down the road. You can take the bus downtown and work in a legislative office right in the middle of the semester. In the summer, you can work in, like if you go back home for the summer, you can work in your legislator's district office back home. So there's a lot of different opportunities to work in legislative offices. And as I mentioned, the full-time New York State Senate Assembly internship is available each spring as well. State and local government. So in addition to legislative offices, there's a whole state government here that is got the Department of Education, the Department of this, and the Department of that. And you can get internships in many of those different departments, depending on what you're interested, learning about how government then implements all of those laws and policies and manages things and serves the people that way. And then local governments are great too. So when you're, especially like if you're looking for something back home in the summer, contact your county and city governments where you live and find out if they have internship opportunities. Nonprofit organizations, I mentioned that briefly a little bit ago, but many nonprofit organizations are looking for help. And we talk about volunteering and interning at a nonprofit organization. It's kind of a continuum and a fine line. Sometimes you can volunteer, they may call it a volunteer, but if you're doing 5, 10, 15 hours a week, that can count as an internship. And so you can look to nonprofit organizations, either here locally in Albany when you're in school or back home if you're someplace else in the summer, and find organizations that are doing things that interest you and contact them. They may advertise internships, but in many cases, they're too busy doing the work and completely understaffed, and they don't even have time to list internships on their website. But if you just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm really interested in what your organization is doing, and I'm looking to do an internship or some volunteer work this semester or this summer, and I'm wondering if there's some projects you could use some help on. Most of them are going to say, yes, we can't pay you, but we'd love to have some help. So it's a great way to get some experience. Other options, lobbyists, lobbying organizations, law firms. I will say for those who are interested in law school, I always like to do the caveat, law firms are tough to get internships as undergrad students. You usually need to know somebody. They're much more interested in having law students as interns in law schools. But that being said, in law firms, there are opportunities, and there certainly are other opportunities within like the state government and within nonprofit organizations where you can intern with lawyers and other settings as well. Think tanks and research, if you like doing some research, there's organizations that do that kind of work. Advocacy groups, political parties, so like the Democrat Party, the Republican Party, at the county level, at the state level, have different organizations that might be interested in campaigns I mentioned. Private companies, so private organizations, private companies also sometimes have an arm or a wing of their organization that is dedicated to following state mandates, federal policies, and advocating on behalf of that organization to the legislature, things like that. So there's often a kind of public service arm of many private companies as well. So questions about that? Are there other types of things you're interested in terms of internships, things like that? I will mention, I don't have them on here, but like particularly for criminal justice or EHC majors, with security organizations, with law enforcement organizations, some of those places also have many internship opportunities as well. Questions? Other thoughts? All right.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you guys a couple questions again. So where have you previously looked, or actually, let me ask one question first. Raise your hand if you have a handshake account. Okay, good amount. Okay, so where have you guys looked for internships, if you have in the past? Handshake, okay. So I just asked, where have we looked for internship, and handshake is one of the options, so great. Yeah, I mean, handshake is pretty accessible in terms of finding internships and jobs. I mean, if you really focus your search on handshake, you really can find what is most applicable to you and your interests. So yeah, no, absolutely. Any other places that you guys have found internships? Yeah.
I had a teacher.
Okay, no, it's great. So teacher recommending, yeah, absolutely. And that's again, even a form of networking in itself, utilizing those connections is really a great way to secure an internship. Sometimes, as Joan mentioned, one more.
Reaching out to people directly.
Yeah, absolutely. Reaching out to people directly. That's what I have done for one or two of my internships. I can't remember right now, but honestly, like Joan mentioned before, people, they might not be able to pay you, but people are always looking for help. And if that's in the form of experience for you, and if it's something you're interested in for a specific organization or, within your field, like that's a great way to, absolutely recommend putting yourself out there, because that can really be, whether it's an internship or, if that's going to be a job opportunity, or if it's just for experience, that's a great thing to do. So yeah, absolutely. The New York State internship portal is great for finding internships. That's also it's linked in our job and internship handbook. So that's online, and also within our, you can grab one on your way out as well. So absolutely feel free to look at that. Any comments on the New York State internship?
So the New York State internship portal, and it works similar to Handshake and other job search websites. It's basically all of the New York State government agencies and departments list there, not legislative internships, but all the others, like the department of this, the department of that, the department of that. They list their internships there, and you just log in, create an account. If you already have a New York State driver's license, you may already have an account on the website, because it's basically the same login as whatever other New York State government accounts you might have. But you just log in, and you can search by geographic area. You can, because not all New York State government departments and agencies are actually located in Albany. There are some that have offices all over the state. You can search by kind of like topic or field, put in your major or put in what kind of fields you're interested in, and it'll narrow it down for you. You can put in what year you are in school, and it will narrow it down for you, because some you need to be a junior or senior, but some are open to everybody. And so you can narrow your search and look. And typically, we talked a little bit about this before, but typically when you're applying to internships, you're gonna apply the semester before the internship. So right now in the fall, postings are happening for spring internships. And then in the spring, they'll happen for summer internships, and in the summer for fall internships. Some big internship programs you have to apply to further in advance than that, but typically one semester in advance. The New York State internship portal, it is one semester in advance. So right now, if you logged in, there will be postings for spring semester. And new ones keep getting added, so you can't just go to these websites once and be done. You have to go back and check them once a week and see what new things are there. I don't know if this one does. Some of the websites that you mentioned next will have, you can set up for alerts as well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Daybook, that's one that you can use for internship postings, and you can set up alerts like Joan mentioned. There's also this actually referring to the job and internship search handbook, because there's a ton of these websites in here. So absolutely, again, feel free to reference this and use this in your search. Even LinkedIn is great. Again, narrowing your search is great. And also back to the networking idea, obviously networking is really important in finding a job, finding internships, but really like also besides just looking for internship opportunities on LinkedIn, seeing, you know, okay, who has an internship or who's had an internship that might be of interest to you. And then maybe again, directly reaching out to them would be a great way to, again, further your interest in that, or your interest, but then also seeing, would this be a good fit for me? Or maybe not, you know, however the case may be. And there's also, yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, LinkedIn, Idealist is another great one. You can also go on as well. And just really taking advantage of these websites is great. You can set up alerts like Joan mentioned. Also, we have our undergraduate newsletter that's sent out weekly that also has a ton of internships posted within it as well. It's posted on Tuesdays, so you can look out for an email tomorrow with any new internship opportunities within it. And they're also, again, focused for Rockefeller. They're focused for your, you know, your areas of interest. They're not just for any internships, but internships that would be of interest to you. Yeah, absolutely.
So political science, public policy, criminal justice majors will get those emails. EHC, I'm sure Erin is sending out similar emails to EHC majors. And if you're watching this, you're from other departments, if you have friends in other departments, often many of the academic departments will send out those kinds of emails. They might not come on Tuesday.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that. No, thank you. But yeah, I mean, to that point too, just really, I know you guys probably, as we do, get a ton of emails a day, but you know, and in a week, but really, especially for these opportunities, like paying attention to what's basically utilizing resources, right? Like there's a lot out there that we try to make that easy for you by putting these opportunities within our newsletters, within our emails, you know, and just taking advantage of that is really important. Also, on that note too, we also have posted on Handshake and within our newsletter our upcoming info sessions for specific organizations, or like we have had a ton recently and are upcoming as well. And to be honest with you, off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember our next one upcoming, but do you remember, Joe?
I don't remember, but employers will do info sessions when they have internships or jobs coming up, and it's a great way to learn more about it, more certainly than you can get from reading a position description. But also attending those info sessions means that then they see you, you can ask questions, they know your name, so when you apply, they're going to remember you. Because there's now hundreds of students who attend these info sessions, so it's a really great way to make yourself stand out as an applicant also.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Yeah, I mean, and also a lot of times these, especially for the info sessions, they're not always, they're usually offered with like a hybrid format as well. So we try to make it easy for you to attend those. And again, just gaining connections, adding to your network, having direct contacts you can ask questions to, both whether it's on that information session or after the fact in the future, if you're applying for that role or that, you're interested in their organization. Also too, on that note, internship fairs, we have a couple upcoming on October 8th and 9th. We have the government and nonprofit job and internship fair. So that's a great opportunity to really see what's out there, connect with employers, secure future opportunities, and again, gain contacts. And again, just kind of focused on what you're interested in. It's focused, targeted for government and nonprofit, that sector. And we also have the CRCC, like Capital Region Career Consortium Internship Fair on November 14th as well. So just like checking handshake for upcoming fairs, upcoming events, other virtual or in-person career workshops or information sessions. It's really just how you can be in the know with our upcoming opportunities too. So
Can I add one thing
yeah,
about that?
absolutely.
And I would say that even as a first year student, I would encourage you to go to these career or internship fairs. The ones next week, the 8th and the 9th.
Yep.
The 8th and the 9th. They're both nonprofit and government. There's gonna be different employers there each day, so you can actually go both days. It's gonna be at the E-Tech building, which is kind of on that end of campus. It's a great opportunity, even if you're not planning on getting an internship this year or next summer, it's a good chance to go practice those networking skills, talk to people, learn more, and help you kind of plan ahead for what you might want to do in the future as well, so.
Yeah, no, thank you, Joan. Yeah, and I mean, just seeing what else, really seeing what's out there too. I mean, there might be opportunities that you're not aware of, or, say you're interested, especially if you're a first year student, if you're interested in a certain, type of position or organization, we don't know that much about it. Like Joe mentioned, even if it's not for right now, just things to keep in mind for the future and taking advantage of these opportunities that are here for you, while you can, it's really important. So any questions about finding internships, resources? Yeah. Me for done an internship? Yeah, so the question was if I've done an internship. Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't go to UAlbany for my undergrad or grad, but I did a couple during my undergrad. I got my grad degree in like higher education and student affairs, so not exactly in this field, but I did like a summer admissions internship for a few years, and that was great because it really helped me see like, okay, I got improved on interpersonal skills through that experience, right? Like through interviewing students, through giving tours, for example. That was part of my first internship experience during my undergrad. And then also during my undergrad, which I kind of referenced before, was I did an internship at a high school that happened to be on my campus. But with that, I was an academic intern, and I realized like that I don't love, like I enjoyed the experience, it was helpful, but I prefer working with college students rather than high school students. So nothing against high school students, but just me, I just liked that better, right? So, but yeah, and that experience in itself made me realize like, okay, some of these undergraduate involvement, right, leadership experiences, extracurriculars, etc., that I could turn that into like our career. So then during my grad school, I had an internship through, I had two actually, one on campus, one off campus. The one off campus was at Siena College actually, summer 2023. And that was great because I got to like network and again, see, okay, maybe it was an international, it was at like their international center, if you will, student services center. And I realized, okay, maybe that's not my like direct area of interest, but it was still a great experience. And then I did like a career services experience at Binghamton, which was my grad school, where I did my grad degree at. And that was great because I got to have that directly in career services, and that helped me get the job that I have now. So yeah, so I absolutely would recommend doing internships, gaining experience, and it really helped me a lot throughout my like undergrad and grad career, if you will. So yeah, does that help? Okay, perfect. Yeah, any other questions?
And I'm just gonna add that last one on there was your own network.
Oh, yeah.
Don't rule out your own network. I think someone over on that side mentioned that's how they got their internship, was they just like reached out. So like if you or your family, friends, relatives, your parents may have contacts, faculty, staff on campus, people you know who may have contacts, talking to everybody when you're ready to start looking for an internship about what you're looking for, and you never know who you know that might know somebody that could tell you more about possible internships. So definitely utilize your own network.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I mean, even for I was just gonna mention real quick, for my grad internship at Sienna, I just happen to kind of directly contact people, and now I have those contacts. It's actually, not part of my network, but, I wasn't a paid experience, but they were looking for help, and it was a really great experience, and that was just from like directly reaching out, sending an email, introducing myself. So again, really, the career fair can be a great way to like put yourself out there and get that like ball rolling, if you will, even if you're a first year student. So moving on to some tools for applying for internships. So a couple of things to note for this. So how many of you guys have a resume currently? Raise your hand. Okay, great. So yeah, that's great. If you want to revise your resume, if you want to look it over, Joe and I are happy to look it over. We have appointment blocks, we have drop-in hours. You can find that, at the end of the presentation as well. But a couple tools for applying, right, for internships. So resume is the big one. So I encourage you guys, before you apply for an internship, have a resume appointment scheduled, one with us. So that way you're updated, you're highlighting your experiences. And even if you haven't had a ton of experience, maybe we can focus on your coursework or any research you've done, those sorts of things. We'd be happy to look that over with you. And cover letters, not always like mandated. A lot of times they're optional, but if there is a cover letter requirement, we can also look that over with you as well, making sure it's tailored for that specific internship that you're applying for. And online application questions kind of depends. Some places will ask for them, some won't. We can also help you with that. But these are just a few things that you'll likely see throughout that process. And just a general tip is make sure you give yourself enough time. Say a deadline is coming up, don't submit all of your application materials the day before, or don't expect because there might be additional questions that are on there. Like, just make sure you are aware of what you need to submit before you do, because a lot of times it can be a little bit time consuming. But that being said, writing samples, that can be the case for some internship applications online. However, not always. Again, it really depends on what you're applying for. And also, just a quick note as well, some places will ask for references or a letter of recommendation, some won't. But just to differentiate the two, and also another note is that your references should not be put on your resume. They should be listed separately, but just make sure generally to clear that people you would ask, say it's a previous supervisor, say it's a current supervisor, professor, whoever it is, that they are okay with you listing them as a reference, because you don't want them to get a call, for example, and they're going to say, oh, I don't know who you're talking about, or I don't know, what this is about, because that can be kind of embarrassing. So try not to do that. Really just make sure it's clear to them ahead of time. The letter of recommendation is more so, that's kind of used more for like graduate school, kind of like making a case on your behalf that you would be a good candidate for, admission to a place, for example. And that's more, sometimes can be for an internship or a job, but typically references are what they ask for, if they do, for these sorts of things. Also, a lot of times they won't ask for an interview for an internship, but just keep in mind, we offer that service, through our services as well. If you'd like to do an interview prep appointment, if you'd like to do kind of like a mock interview with practice questions, you can absolutely do that. Big Interview is an online resource, also on the Career Services website, that you can check out for practicing your interview skills as well. And these are all just some main, again, like tools that you should expect, maybe not all of them, but definitely the resume. The other ones might be optional, but also just being familiar and knowing how to go about, these materials when you're submitting your applications. And those are, any notes on that, Joe? Or?
No, I think the next slide actually kind of goes on from there, so I'll just
Absolutely.
take it away.
Yeah.
So Christina mentioned that we're here to help, and there's a lot of different things that are, question, go ahead.
I want to the last slide, so I think I want to internship for like the sophomore semester. And like I'm a freshman, so I don't even know how to freshman well enough. There's no new well enough to get about those other representation. So would it be okay to ask like someone from like high school or like maybe like a supervisor at a job? Someone's like not from the office that like just got here for that thing.
So let me repeat that, that's a great question. So she said, you know, as a first year student, she doesn't know her professors that well. Is there other people that she could ask, like from a job or someone from high school? And I think that my thoughts would be, and you can share if you have different thoughts, is typically once you've done a class with a professor, like a whole semester with them and you've done well in the class, and you got to know them outside of class. So like if it's a big giant lecture class, it's a little hard to get to know your professor. So you'll want to go to office hours. You know, go to office hours a couple of times during the semester. Ask questions about the class, but just chat with your professor. Talk with them. Get career advice. They're they're in this field. They're familiar with the field. And if it's a smaller class, you want to be sure you're participating in the conversation and the discussion and still going to office hours. So that being said, really by the end of your first semester, you likely could have one or two professors that you could ask to be a reference. And I think from job supervisors, current or past job supervisors are an excellent choice. I probably would say, I mean, high school possibly, but I think most employers, if you're talking about college, internships, they're going to be more interested in hearing from a college professor instead. But your academic advisor might be a good choice if you get really involved in a student organization and there's a faculty or staff advisor to your organization, they might be a good choice as well. Other questions? All right, so let's talk about the career skills help. So we do have, through Rockefeller, we offer a career workshop series throughout the semester. We do probably 4, 5, 6 workshops throughout the semester. Again, watch the Rock Your Careers email for that information. We also post them on Handshake, and there's the main career office and other departments that do career skills workshops throughout the semester. The Handshake Events tab is one of the best places to see what career skills workshops are out there. And that's just a great way to learn about different things. For example, I'm doing one later this week on how to write a personal statement. And so you're, planning ahead to when you are going to apply to grad school or law school, or occasionally some internships ask for a personal statement as opposed to a cover letter. I'm going to do a workshop on that. I think you're doing one on interviewing later this semester.
Yeah, and then there's the job posting site.
Oh, yes, there's another one. I'm kind of reading a job posting and how to like decipher and tailor your materials to that specific position. So throughout the semester, you'll find those. And then we also record them. Like I said, I was recording this one. So on our Rockefeller YouTube channel, you can go in and find like resume workshops from previous semesters or cover letter workshops or anything that you need. So if we're not offering a workshop on what you want this semester, there's bound to be a recorded one somewhere. So definitely check those out. Career handbooks. So we have a variety of career handbooks. We brought printed copies of a couple of them. We brought the job and internship search handbook and the resume handbook. I'm also going to send these to Sahar and Professor Strzok and Professor Fox to post on your Brightspace or however they communicate materials with you. They're also in the Rocket Careers email each week. The links to them, so you can get the online version. If you prefer a paper copy, feel free to take that before you go today. The job and internship search handbook, as Christina mentioned, has got lots of different websites and places like that, but also some tips on references and what's the difference between a personal statement and a cover letter and some of those things. So they're a great resource for you. And obviously the resume handbook, tips on writing your resume, sample resumes, all of those kinds of things. Thinking ahead. Some of you are in Professor Fox's Thinking Ahead class. That's offered. Do we know yet if it's going to be offered in the spring? Okay, it may be offered this spring. It'll definitely be offered next fall. It's a great class for first and second year students to learn more about careers in this field. So I encourage you to take a look at that class. The Career and Professional Development Office in Science Library G50 is available to students in all majors for help with resumes, cover letters, interview skills, all of those things. And then if you are a Rockefeller student, which is political science, public policy, or criminal justice, our Rockefeller Career Office. We have, sometimes we're staffed, I'm primarily on the Uptown campus, which is the basement here, Humanities B16. And our director Ashley is downtown in Mill, and Christina does Mondays up here and a couple days downtown. So we're kind of back and forth. So you can find us in either of those locations, and you can schedule an appointment with any of us through Handshake. Or you can go to our drop-in hours. So those are our drop-in office hours there, and they're posted in the Rock Your Careers email each week. And for an EHC, I know Erin is available, and some of other departments also have staff for their specific kind of your field that are kind of more experts on career skills in that field. So last slide, how do you get credit for an academic credit for your internship? So one option is a departmental course. So we have a course for political science, public policy, and criminal justice majors. While you're doing an internship, you can get academic credit. We're actually in the process of doing a little revamp to that course, so I won't give you a lot of details on it right now because it's probably going to change very soon. But that's typically designed to go alongside a part-time internship. You typically take the class while you're doing the internship. So if you do a summer internship, you can take the class in the fall to get credit. And we talk about career skills in there. So there's an academic component, but the bulk of the time commitment is you're doing your actual internship. I mentioned you can get academic credit for community service. There's a community and public service program offered through the social work department, but open to students in any major. And you can take a class 1 to 3 credits to get credit for doing some ongoing community service. If you're in a different department, if your department doesn't have an internship class, or you do a second internship, there's also university-wide internship courses that you can take. You might be able to get academic credit if you have a second major or a minor. Those departments may have an internship course for you. Because again, I mentioned all of these because like I said at the beginning, a lot of our students do more than one internship. And then I mentioned at the very beginning, the Semester in Washington program is another great program. You can get academic credit for those internships and the full-time Senate Assembly as well. And then there's also one more university-wide internship. I'm doing a full-time internship outside of those 2 programs. That's another option. So, and you can talk with us. I'm not gonna give you all the details on those classes now, because when you get to the point where you're applying to internships and getting an internship, then you come see us and we'll talk with you about what the best option is. So any final questions about internships in general?
And it's thinking about credits for internship. On one hand, it could be useful, right, because you're getting something for what you're doing for free potentially. But at the same time, you have to be very careful, especially doing a full-time internship outside of your schedules. We talked about the number of credits you take, so financial aid looks like. So as you're starting to think about it, we continue to talk about for your plan next week. Be mindful of that. Sometimes it's really good to have credit, but other times just let it have experience. No credit meant because that financially would be fine.
And I'll just repeat that for the recording. Sahar was just talking about, it's helpful as you're thinking about internships, speak with your advisor, whether that be Sahar or whoever your advisor is, about what internships you'd like to do, and they can help you plan out how to, if it makes sense to get academic credit or do it without academic credit, or doing a full-time one versus a part-time one. They can help you kind of plan out all of those details. Because those are always specific. It's specific to your individual situation. So talk with your advisor, talk with Sahar, talk with Christina or I, when you're at that point. I'm happy to help you. The other thing I will say is if you didn't sign in the sign-in sheet that was going around at the beginning, sign in on that. We'll send a follow-up email to everybody that was there as well. And I've got one more question.
Kind of a side question. The New York State internship, how many credits?
The New York State full-time internship is 15 credits. Yeah. And semester in Washington, you earn 12 or 15. There's one required class, one optional class, and then the internship is 9. So that's 12 to 15. So both of those, you're a full-time student, you're still making progress towards graduation. Some of those credits will go into your major, some will go into general electives. And again, your advisor or Christina, Sahara, I can help you figure that out. Other questions? Well, thank you so much. Hopefully this has been helpful to you, and I will stick around for me if you got individual questions. Sign the sheet if you didn't, and also grab one of those if you want to. Thanks to those watching the recording. I'm going to go ahead and end that report.